What if Deku was a warlock, part 2? Now, before I get into this what if, I must announce something real quick that I don't know if anyone else notices this, but when I make my what ifs, I usually give Deku his powers, give him time to train, and move on to the next what if. But that's gonna stop now. Right after this what if, I'm going to need 3 weeks off so that I can work on those previous what ifs so that we can get into the juicier details of the UA entrance exam. So, I promise that after 2 weeks, we're going to get into the UA entrance exam, and maybe even beyond that, of what if Deku was in the Dino Squad, what if Deku was a Firewolf, and what if Deku was a Warlock. After that, we'll be good to go, and even more. So, without any further ado, this is What If Deku Was a Warlock, Part 2. Clearing my throat. What if Deku was a warlock, part 2? We continue where we left off. Izuku heads back to his room. Izuku then takes off his helmet and says, "Okay, Ghost, who are you and where did you come from?" The Ghost then says, "Well, like I said, I'm a ghost. My sole purpose is to serve you. When I am with you, if you are ever on the edge of death, I can bring you back to life no matter the circumstances." Izuku thinks for a moment and asks, "So, I'm basically immortal now?" "Yes," says the ghost. "You will no longer fear death again." Izuku then asks, "What else can you do?" The ghost then goes about explaining his abilities, telling Izuku that he can scan areas and sense when danger is nearby, and he can hack Golden Century technology with the powers of the light, and he can grant Izuku his warlock abilities if needed. The ghost even explains to Izuku about his newfound abilities. If you ever watch part 1 of What If Deku Was a Warlock, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Izuku knows everything, including the light, he's a guardian, and even the traveler. But Izuku asks one more question to the ghost. "What year do you think you're in?" Well, by my calculations, it's 3500 AD. Izuku is astonished because he is talking to a robot from the future. Far beyond the future. The ghost then says, "What's the matter, Guardian?" Izuku looks at the ghost and says, "Well, you're certainly not in the right timeline. This is 2016 BC. You're in the past." The ghost thinks for a moment, just floating in the air, and then says, "Hang on." The ghost then opens up its circuits and makes a call to the watchtower in contacting of the other guardians. He manages to get a hold of Ikora 700 years into the future. Ikora says, "Hello? Who is this?" "Hello, I'm a ghost, and I just found my guardian, and I'm afraid there might be something going on." "Oh? And what seems to be the problem, Ghost?" "The Vex sent me back in time." A moment of silence brushes by. Ikora then says, "I'm sorry, but did you just say that the Vex sent you back in time?" The ghost then responds, saying, "Yes, and I just found my guardian in the past. Like about a couple of minutes ago." Izuku, sitting on the bed, then gets into the conversation saying, "Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya." Ikora says, "Hello, can you tell me what's going on?" Izuku then tells Ikora all about his death and how he met his ghost, even mentioning the fact that he's a warlock, just like Ikora. Ikora thinks for a moment and says, "This is indeed very strange. A ghost that was sent back in time, and he found his guardian in the past, where humanity is still standing? This is truly astonishing." The ghost then asks, "What should we do?" Ikora thinks for a moment and says, "Well, until further notice, you'll have to wait there until we figure something out. What I want to know is, how are you still able to contact me in the past?" The ghost then says I must still be connected to my timeline. That must explain why I still feel the light of the power from the traveler. I could still receive the light. Ikora is astonished and says, "This is indeed very interesting. Well, as I said before, you're going to have to wait there until further notice. I must tell the other guardians about this." This is Ikora, by the way. And to the other guardians she's referring to, she was referring to Cade 6 and Commander Zavala. Ikora then says, "Good luck, Guardian," and then ends the call. Izuku is done. Because out of all this is too much for him to take in. There's too many things going on at the same time. Izuku then asks the ghost if we could just go to sleep for now and think. The ghost says, "Okay, Guardian." Izuku then asks the ghost to remove the suit so that Izuku can sleep comfortably. The ghost then makes the suit disappear off of Izuku, and Izuku tries to sleep. A few hours later, Izuku wakes up and thinks it was all a dream. Izuku then makes a fist with his hands and then opens it up, and then his ghost appears floating above his hands. He knows it was not all a dream. A couple minutes later, Izuku is welcomed to breakfast by his mother. After a few minutes go by, Izuku sits on the couch with his mother, takes a deep breath, and begins to explain to her everything that had happened yesterday. About how he was attacked by a sludge villain, about his death, and about how he met a small robot that brought him back to life. Inko, his mother, is in so much disbelief and drops a few tears. "It can't be true. Please tell me it isn't true, Izuku," says Inko. Izuku then tells his ghost to come out. The ghost then appears from Izuku's chest. Inko, looking at the flying robot, looks at it and says, "What are you?" "I'm a ghost." "Well, now, I'm your son's ghost." The ghost then tells Inko about Izuku's newfound abilities and how he is immortal, and how he is one of the travelers chosen, and that Izuku was destined to be what he is now. Inko looks at her son and asks, "What are you going to do, Izuku?" Izuku thinks about it for a few moments and says, "I'm going to make this power my own. Though yes, it was given to me, I must learn to use it." Inko, still shocked about her son dying and coming back to life, it was too much for her to take in. Inko then looks at the ghost and then looks at her son and says, "Son, if you really are okay with this, I will, no matter what, always be there for you." Izuku, with tears falling down his face, while smiling, Izuku then hugs his mom and then leaves the house to train to use his newfound abilities. He goes down to the beach with all the garbage and says, "Okay, ghost, what should I learn first?" Izuku then begins his training. After 3 months, Izuku has gotten used to his newfound abilities. He is gliding across town, rooftop to rooftop, making sure he is not seen. While doing this, Izuku comes across a mugging in progress. Izuku jumps down into action wearing his super suit. Izuku walks up to the mugger from behind and uses energy drain to drain the mugger of his energy, rendering him unconscious. "Thank you," said the woman. "It's no problem," says Izuku. The woman then picks up her things and says, "I'm Momo Yaoyorozu." Izuku, accidentally stating his full name, jumps to the realization of his mistake. Momo then says, "So, are you looking to be a hero too?" Izuku thought since he already spilled the beans about his name, he may as well tell her the truth. "Yes, I am. I'm actually looking to attend UA High in about, 6 months? Maybe more than that. I want to be the next #1 hero someday. Well, you already look the part, says Momo. I'm looking to be a hero too, but I already have a recommendation for UA. Izuku is amazed and says, oh wow, you must have a really strong quirk. What is it? Momo says, creation. I can make anything as long as I don't go overboard. That's so cool, says Izuku. Momo then asks, what's yours? Izuku thinks about it for a moment, and in his mind he says, oh man, I haven't really made a name for my quirk yet. What do I call it? The ghost in Izuku's mind says, Void. Your ability is called Void. Izuku out loud says, my quirk is called Void. It's basically I can draw cosmic energy and I can make it as a weapon and bend it to my will. Oh wow, that's so cool, says Momo. The police sirens can be heard coming in closer. And Izuku says, well, I better get going. I hope you get in to UA, says Momo Yaoyorozu, and thanks again, Izuku. 3 months go by, and Izuku is at an empty warehouse throwing all of his grenades, from Nova Bomb to scatter grenades to Vortex grenade. Izuku says, Nova Bomb. He throws a Nova Bomb at an empty trash can and makes it fly far across the room, not disintegrating it. He then yells, scatter grenades, and when he throws it, bits and pieces of light scatter from it and damages the wall that he threw it at. And for the last one, Izuku then yells, Vortex grenade. Izuku reaches both of his hands into the air while a giant purple ball of light appears over his head. And in a throwing motion, the entire building shakes and merely completely collapses. Izuku, now fully understanding the length of his power, feels warm inside, like a sudden burst of solar energy from the inside of him. The ghost then appears from Izuku and says, good job, Guardian. You've just unlocked Sunsinger. Izuku is now glowing orange. He then looks at his hand and then opens them with a fist. With 2 firebolt grenades. He then throws them, and 2 car-sized suns are floating above the ground. They both throb with a light. Izuku cannot stop looking at the 2 suns, and after 30 seconds, they disappear. Izuku is amazed, but he knows how dangerous the sunsinger is, and wants to learn how to use it, but at the same time, he wants to use it less because of how dangerous it is. And after another 3 months go by, and in those past months, Izuku has been training his body and have been training for combat for the past 3 months. There is only 1 more month before the UA entrance exam. Izuku wants to use Sunsinger for something. He heads towards the door to leave before he is stopped by his mother. Wait, Izuku. Izuku then says, yes. Inko then walks up to her son and hugs him. Izuku hugs his mother back. Inko then says, I'm proud of you, son. You've worked so hard, even though what happened about 9 months ago still traumatizes me. I know you were destined to do this. Inko drops a few tears, and so does Izuku. Izuku then says, bye, Mom. I'll see you later. See you later, son. Izuku glides to the beach with all the trash. Izuku then looks at all the garbage and uses his new sun abilities. He first uses Radiance to boost his solar abilities, and then throws a firebolt at a big pile of trash, making the pile of trash disappear into the air. I was losing myself in all this, and I was doing so good. And then he throws another one at a pile of trash until the beach is rid of all the garbage. Now the beach is cleaned, and a suited up Izuku was spotted by pedestrians saying out loud, "Wow, that was so cool! And the beach is so clean." Izuku, behind his masks, smiles and leaves to rest for another day. Okay, this take actually came out pretty good. Good. So, as I've said before, I'm going to need 3 weeks in order to work on the other what ifs to get Izuku into the UA entrance exam. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So I hope, like, everyone who watched this leaves a comment and a like and subscribe. Whew, forgive me if I'm not doing this right. I'm still nervous about all this. I never done YouTubing this much before. And I really hope I don't let anyone down. But like, yeah, after those 3 months, why don't you guys go ahead and throw me a couple of suggestions, like what should Deku have next? What newfound ability should I give him? So yeah, all of that. If you like, share, subscribe, this channel can grow. Anyway, I hope you all have a nice day and consider yourselves #blessed. Goodbye.